Hey, welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I've got a good video that I'm excited about because I haven't done a mail day in a little bit, but I have a double LCS baseball card store update as well. So I'm going to be showing what I picked up at two different hobby shops, an actual comic book store and a sports card store. And then I actually picked up something really weird for me, something I don't usually collect. But it's super cool and I want to show it to you, so we'll get into it. So as you can see, I've got some stuff here to open. So I'll go ahead and open it and we'll see after it's opened. Alright, we're back. Everything's unboxed and we'll start with comics. We usually start with cards, but I've got one comic book in the unboxing and it's a real life comics number 28 and it is an Alex Schomburg cover. So typical Schomburg video when I have a comic, but it's a really nice shaped comic. You can see look on the edges there, very nice. Not a lot of issues there on the edges, and I think it's going to grade okay. I think I will eventually get it graded. But the cool thing about this book is, even though it's a cheap book, real life comics is not very expensive because it's really considered like a historical and anthology type, see these kind of stories at the bottom. But you can see right here, this guy right there, covered in blood, and then this guy's face with blood. Yeah, this is pre-code. And you can't really do those things now, or after the Code of Comics Authority came out and banned things like blood. And yeah, I got fireworks going off next door from my neighbors. So yeah, blood is not cool after the Comic Code Authority came out. So this book is kind of cool. I mean, it's not ever going to be huge, but I think it's good shape, so I'll definitely get it graded. Next up, the guys are going nuts next door, is an 82 Topps Nolan Ryan. This is a PSA 9. So you can see it's a really good card for the grade, and really well centered. And it's just like these 9s like this from the 80s aren't worth a ton, but again, it goes to my theory on grading these kind of cards. It's going to be less and less feasible with the price of price of PSA, and getting some of these kind of high high demand Hall of Famers from the 80s and 90s into slabs will be less and less profitable. So I think you'll see a lot less people doing it. And as you can see, it's a nice grade. So I think we'll just see how it goes. I don't think you're going to see a lot of this kind of material come up as often as we have in the past. So next up, I just picked this up because these cards are going cheap again. It's a 78 Topps Kareem Abdul-Jabbar PSA 7. It's just a cool card. I mean, I always like just vintage cards from the 70s. It's kind of like, again, I talked about this in my 70s video. It's like they're affordable, and now they're coming back down in price to where they're affordable again. And these are just cool. You put them out on a card show. People like them. I think one of the things that I keep hearing more and more about the card shows today is that so much volume of material, as people are starting to take their cards and kind of upgrade them over and over and over until now they've got all $1,000 and $2,000 cards, is that you go to card shows and maybe people have $1,000 to spend, or maybe they have $1,000 in cards and cash. So they're going to, take all those cards and dump them to get one card or cards and cash. But generally most dealers don't want to kind of downgrade to get multiple cards. Everybody wants to consolidate. And what I'm seeing is just like not a lot of cards are just affordable. Like you don't go to a show and say, hey, here's a $40 high, first ballot Hall of Famer, nice 70s card, $30-$40. Okay, I'll pick it up and don't break the bank and go home. And it's like those kind of things aren't happening as much as they used to. And I think it is hard for people nowadays to get, just like, like having fun by just picking up a few cards without having to feel like you're making major financial transactions every time you pick up a card. It's just, and I definitely felt that at the Albany show was, like there was literally one card, PSA 8 Hall of Famer, and it was, I think, a Bob Gibson in the whole show, because everyone either had crazy, $4,000 modern cards, or everything was just junk, vintage. Very little in between. Next up is a card I really dig, and this card's had some, and I think this card is okay in terms of what I want to talk about here, in terms of trying to get my lighting here all situated. I think that's the best. This card hasn't had the controversy of some other cards from Jim Thorpe. And what I mean is that the material, is it real or not? I do think this earlier Tools of the Trade Thorpe material, which is jersey material, looks a heck of a lot more authentic. But there was another version of cards that came out that had his like warm-up jacket or something, and a lot of people have speculated that material was fake, especially if it came from Barry Halper, Barry Halper, where that big collector who had all this crazy material. Google him if you want to look him up, but a lot of his stuff was fake, and he sold it to major companies, and that's one of those hidden scams in the hobby that you don't hear much about, is how much of this vintage jersey material that came from him that's in cards nowadays. I think a lot of it, if you wanted to ask me like how they were getting some of this material, and a lot of it was fake. But here is a Thorpe Tools of the Trade. I want to say this is 2009 Absolute. I'm just a huge fan of Thorpe cards. I have a lot of his cards, and my first memorabilia card. I think that one is legit. I think you can't ever really tell, but I definitely think that red material, that's kind of his jacket material, is definitely a lot more suspect. Next up is a card that I really want to use as an example. I bought this because it was $25. And it's Art Donovan, who was not only a Hall of Famer, but he was kind of a personality, and he had a long career outside of football, and was on a lot. I mean, if you ever watch ESPN, and he got on a lot of shows back in the day, because he was he just had a good personality. But I'm just thinking about this, like I can't think of very many 1957 baseball or basketball or even hockey Hall of Famers that are $25 at the PSA 7. And I just feel like football cards, and this has been said a lot, that vintage football cards have a lot of room to grow. They're not mature yet, and I don't know what's keeping the football vintage market from obtaining the maturity of other markets, like basketball and baseball. But man, it's not there, and I'm going to do a video on it where where I've looked at some of the numbers, and like you can compare like a Juan Marichal versus Joe Green, and Juan Marichal cards are worth more like at the end of his career than a lot of earlier Joe Green cards. And if you think about it, Mean Joe Green is literally iconic football player from a iconic football team, had a commercial, was really popular in pop culture. And Juan Marichal, who's a great player, but definitely not in that tier in his sport. It just shows you like, wow, football cards have a lot of room to grow, but there's a reason why they haven't grown, and I really want to get into it, because there's something there that just prevents this whole market from taking off. Because outside of Jim Brown and a few Hall of Famers, they're just not where the other sports are, and it's just interesting to see why that is, and kind of examine the cards and the pricing, and kind of figure out, is it going to take off one day, or is it always going to be this way? Next up is a very shiny card. So this is a Diamond Producers Frank Thomas, and from 96 Ultra. So it's got the cool Ultra logo there, and I think it's one of those things that with Ultra, they had just a ton of really cool insert sets. So Frank Thomas cards, he is not number one in the 90s, but he's definitely in the top tier of 90s insert guys. and there's a lot of people who follow his card. So this is a mint 9, and it's a just a really shiny foil card from Fuller Ultra, and I do feel like there's a lot of upside in Frank Thomas insert cards from the 90s because they're very undervalued if you compare that. I consider him top 3. I mean, if I was to look at 90s cards, I'd say it's going to be Griffey, Jeter, Thomas, and top 3 he's definitely there, and big following for him, and a lot of people collect him, but the prices aren't quite as mature and as high. Next up is just one of those cards I just always love picking up. 75 O-Pee-Chees. O-Pee-Chees in general from the 70s are really fun. 60s O-Pee-Chees are even harder. This one's a really nice one. If you look at it, it's definitely centered pretty well. You look on back, you got the kind of brighter, whiter cardboard back from the O-Pee-Chee era. Yeah, it's just a cool. I mean, I think these kind of cards are just cool. So that's a 75 O-Pee-Chee. And then next up is this 97 Topps base Michael Jordan. And again, picking up base cards again. Wow, it's almost like it's 2020 all over again. But it's a cool looking photo of him, and it's not going to break the bank. So next up is so this is a 34 Diamond Star Lloyd Wainer, actually 35, and you can tell the difference in colors, years by the color of the writing on the back. So this is green. Some greens are obviously 35. I think there's blue and red as well. So this card is cool because A, it's a Hall of Famer, and B, it's a Pirate. So fits in my collection really well. I put together slowly the Diamond Star set. I think I'm over a third of the way there. I think I've got I've got a few of the Hall of Famers, big time Hall of Famers, but I don't have like the Lefty Grove or the Jimmy Fox yet. I've been collecting this set in a 4 and a 5 shape. So, if I can get 4s and 5s all the way through, I'm going to be happy. It's a cool card, and it's a cool set, and it don't break the bank. And again, it's like one of those things where this set has every major player except for, I don't know, Dizzy Dane, Lou Gehrig, and Babe Ruth. But hey, who's counting, right? Who's counting, right? So it's why it's affordable, okay, guys? It's got Jimmy Fox, it's got Lefty Grove, it's got Paul Wainer. I mean, it's got some good players, but definitely it missed out on some of these big guys, and that's why the set never really got as popular. And the Art Deco style of the cards, either you love it or you hate it. A lot of people don't like the blockiness of the colors, but hey, I do. All right, so that's the cards. So then I'm going to go into like kind of my adventures in comic book world, and this is my I think I've used this background one time before. So this is Albedo from Overlord Anime, and so I do like anime. I watch it quite a bit by myself because my daughter is definitely into some of it, but we have just different tastes in anime. And for example, I'm a big Cowboy Bebop fan. I love the Gundam series, and she's more into the romantic, animes that are out there, and it doesn't like some of the gory. Because you can't ever tell on anime, man. Like it could be looking normal, and all of a sudden there's just craziness and gory, and that she's not into that. And so I've been really enjoying the Gundam on Netflix, and so I thought I'd bust out my Overlord. Overlord's a great anime. I went to the sports card store and I picked up 2 boxes. So I picked up a box of 2000 box of Elite Football. And so Elite Football and Gaudy Baseball. Now, why did I pick these 2? Well, just because I always, with football getting everything getting modern, more expensive, is I've really pared down what I open now in football to a few sets. Now, I used to spend a lot of money on, Flawless, and every year I'd open either 1 or 2 boxes of the briefcases of football, and I can't really afford to do that this year. And so, Elite's been a series I've always opened, plates and patches, and I've always loved Prism, and so like Prism's expensive. I didn't hardly open any last year, so I really want to open Elite this year. So I'm going to open a box of Elite. I'm going to open a box of Gaudi. Now the Gaudi is cool because this product has tons of autos. Especially the Sports Kings autos. There's Gretzky, Tiger Woods. I mean, $80 in this market. It's kind of a cheap gamble to try to hit something really, really big. So I'm going to open a box of this pretty soon and a box of Elite. And so stay tuned for those boxes. They're coming soon. And then next up is the trip to the comic book store. Now, first thing I'll show you is I bought some packs of Bombshells, and I'll open those really quickly. I really like the Bombshells product. And the comics and kind of everything that's based on it. And there's sketches in here, so I'm going to open those and see if we get sketched. Now, the LCS I went to had some really amazing, awesome comics, and this was definitely the first hardcore wall-to-wall comic book store I've been into a while. And it was awesome because I figured out really quickly they had some really interesting books that were variants, and I do collect variants. I haven't really shown off my hardcore high-end variants I have, but I do collect variant comic books. It's a dirty secret of mine because a lot of people will tell you not to collect variants, that they go down in value over time. I've got some really cool ones. I like the Venomized Mary Jane, I think 687 or something like that from Spider-Man. Like the really cool, harder to get ones, and I also have some just for fun. So he had some really awesome variants and some just really fun books. And he had one really big one that I picked up that I've been looking for forever. And I'll show that one to you last. But we'll start out with the Spider-Woman book here. This is a Michael Turner cover. And he's, a little under eBay pricing for this, which is great. And, this is a great cover. And he also had the Aspen Virgin variant for an extremely good price. This is a really good price, $25 for this book. And you can see she's in a completely different outfit, the Virgin variant. So I just like having both copies. I mean, again, Michael Turner art is amazing. And, really cool books. And I think these will do well at shows and in the fall when I plan on setting up some comic book shows, especially in the Saratoga area. This is going to be a book that I'm going to really bring out, because I think these are the kind of books, because they're not that expensive, but they're really nice and good cover art. Next up, so this is Joker's daughter's first appearance, I think, or at least cover. I don't know. It's a variant. Punchline's her name. I don't know. I think her first appearance is in a different book, but this so convoluted first appearance, cameos, all this stuff. But I really like the variant cover. I think this is one of the nicest covers of her on a book, and it's just it's one I think if you're looking for just a nice cover of this character, I think this is one of the nicest, and it's a cool variant, and it's not too expensive. Next up, this was a really cool book, man. Like I was really excited to see this first Hellblazer. So this isn't a variant, but I actually am going back. So I have Audible, and I've been reading or listening to, Sandman on Audible. So if anyone who wants to hear something really cool, if you've got Audible, listen to Sandman, because Neil Gaiman is actually narrating it, but Constantine's in the first third and fourth episode, and it's basically the comic book series. Okay, they're very faithful to the series. So Constantine's in that, and he's very cool in that series, and I just feel like this is a cool book, and it's getting a little spiky. As Constantine continues to make appearances in different media and is rumored in more appearances. So, all right. And next up is, kind of a more recent variant, but this is the Black Adam Endless Winter variant. And this, I think there's a sketch version of this that's really expensive. But you know, with The Rock playing Black Adam in an upcoming movie, all his books are getting popular, and this is a recent variant that's got a lot of heat behind it. And again, it's definitely a book you would carry with you to a comic book show and have it out there to get people who are really looking for Black Adam books. Because let's face it, he doesn't have a ton of covers that are amazing. He doesn't have a ton of books, just you know, with Black Adam. And so I think this is a great one to have. And you know, The Rock will obviously do it. I mean, I think you know, if you're gonna have anyone play you, if you're a comic book character, The Rock would be a great choice because I think he's so charismatic, and he's going to make this character his own. And I really have a lot of high hopes. In fact, you know, I would say if you're going to speculate on a character in the DC universe, you can't go wrong with Black Adam right now because he is such a tortured character that he's got a lot of pathos that you can really explore as a filmmaker. Next up is a series of McFarlane Spider-Man covers, and I just make it a habit of when I go through and comic book shops and they have these at reasonable prices to just pick up every McFarlane Spider-Man book if they're in okay shape and they're just priced somewhat reasonably, because this lizard cover, for example, is just an awesome cover. It's just even his kind of mail it in covers are still pretty good, even with covers like this one where you get the Scorpion, a lot of action. And it's just, I think the whole McFarlane run of Spider-Man is going to become iconic at some point. McFarlane is such a popular artist. So these are all McFarlane. You saw $10. These are, the thing about it too is, like that, it's hard to, you go on eBay and they're selling for $4 or $5, maybe $10 on eBay, $7, but you got to pay shipping, and they could get damaged. And so here you're getting the book for basically cheaper than on eBay and shipping, and you can actually see the condition and make sure it's what you want. Next up is Spider-Man 63, and this is like a kind of a cool futuristic armor version. I don't know exactly what the story is. I saw the cover, I'm like, God, cool. Everyone loves when Spider-Man's in a different uniform. And I believe this has something to do with the multiverse. Spider-Man. Maybe it's the Doctor Strange, version. I don't know. I should read it. But I just saw it. I kind of looked it up, and it was right at comp. And so I was like, hey, I love Spider-Man variants. I just picked it up. And it's a cool looking book. And sometimes that's all variants seem to be. It's just cool looking, right? And, people like books that have cool covers. Now, the last book I have here is from an artist that's really popular but a little controversial, not for bad reasons, but just because, some folks are, just think her work is a little overblown. But I do think Jen Bartel is a great artist. I love this book because it's just so expressive. The character itself, she adds so many details to the character. But this is America 8 variant, Jen Bartel. This book, I think the last sale I saw was $400 as a 9.8. But every book that's listed on eBay is a 9.8. There's no raw books listed. They're all, I think, $750 or above in a 9.8. So I got this, around $200, $250, sorry. And I think it's, it's hard to find this book in the wild. And you're not going to get it much cheaper. And if you get it graded, it's an immediate moneymaker. And this is definitely getting a lot of heat. You see it in a lot of people's videos on hot variants. It's just a tough book. And, and so to me, I think it's a book to hold on to and, keep, and it's definitely a rare book. Now, he had a lot of hip hop variants I didn't pick up. And some of them were really cool ones. So when I go back, I might pick up some of the hip hop variants, but they've kind of gotten cooled down a little bit. So I want to see where they kind of even out at maybe in another month and go back and see what the prices are on those and pick them up. And the very last thing, I know this very, very long video, but is this thing. I should show it to you guys. This is something I don't normally collect, but it is a Batman figure. And I'll try to get the peak part where you can see what it is. without knocking everything over. Sorry about that. And get you set back up. Hold on. Technical difficulties here. All right. All right. So this is a Batman figure, and right here you can kind of see what it is. So where it says, you know, right here, it's kind of hard because it's you know, kind of, there you go. DC Comics variant play arts. Designed by Tetsuo Nomura, #1 Batman. And, you know, kind of see there, even in normal lighting, this is hard to see. So I'm going to flip it over so you can see what it looks like on the back. And I'll give you a better idea of what this figure looks like. But it's just like a really, really awesome, you know, big, this thing is huge figure. But these are super hard to get, and they're because you had to pre-order them, I believe. There's only 3 sales on eBay, and the cheapest I believe is $270, and one sold for $350, and they've all, I think, sold by now. Like as soon as they're listed, they're getting sold. And I got this for basically the price of release, so much lower than that. And you know, I can immediately make money on it just by listing on eBay. I'm sure I could get $300 for it right now. But it's just such a cool figure. It's a huge figure. But you can see it's just got like a very techno anime design for Batman. And so I picked it up. I mean, I was actually going to that comic book store for something very different. I was going for an Iron Man #1, and it had a tear in the cover. And I was debating, you know, do I want to take a chance on it? And, you know, and kind of, because at the end of the day, I'm probably going to end up washing, you know, by the time I get it graded and everything. It's like not going to make any money, but it's a good book, and it's a cool book with the, you know, even with the tear in the cover. But then I saw this, I'm like, well, this is definitely a no-brainer. Like, you know, this is definitely a no-brainer. There's a big collector base out for some of these rare figures like this. So I got it, and and we'll see. I don't know. I'm definitely going to use this as kind of a cool piece at the next comic book show I set up at. And, you know, it'll be something I really put out there and try to draw some attention to the table. And there you go. All right, guys. That's the video. I know it's long, but I'm glad. Hope you stuck around to the end and saw it. But, you know, leave me comments, you know, what you liked, what you didn't like. And I'll see you next time.